Hey everyone, I got another drawing request, this time to draw ProtoMan.EXE from MegaMan Battle Network, reimagined as a medieval knight. I really like this idea and I think it fits ProtoMan's character. I used to play the Battle Network games a lot when I was younger, and ProtoMan always stood out to me as one of the cooler characters from that series. Though, to be honest, the character Base has always been my favorite. And I've already drawn Base in the past on my TikTok, but I'll have to do another video of him on YouTube soon. Back to ProtoMan though. Now that I have the pose down, I'm going in and sketching out the general shapes of his armor. And I'm using a photo reference for the knight armor, but I'm going to exaggerate certain parts like the shoulders and knees to still keep that ProtoMan look. And obviously I still want to keep the general look of his helmet, but I don't want to add an actual glass visor, so I'm just going to have him with the visor of his helm up to kind of mimic that same shape of his original helmet, with the spike on top and the shadowed eyes. And now I'm going to block in the color scheme for the armor. This isn't the actual color layer I'll be using in the final drawing. It's just to show me where each color segment is while I'm sketching. And now that that's done, I'm going to drop the opacity down and start on my line work. And having a photo reference for the armor, I'm not going to go through as many sketch steps. So a lot of these lines are going to end up being part of my final line work, though I'll do more adjustments later. And like I said before, I'm exaggerating and adjusting certain parts of the armor to fit the ProtoMan style while still keeping it recognizable as medieval armor. For the sword, I'm going for a Zweihander style with a long blade, two-handed grip, and a prominent ricasso. And for the ricasso, which is that dull section of the blade between the handle and the sharp part of the blade, I'm making it look like the base of ProtoMan's arm blade. Most blades have a ricasso, but in Zweihanders and other two-handed swords, the ricasso acts like a second handle for half swording. And that's basically just grabbing the central part of the blade with the offhand, and that's used to deliver more powerful thrusts, catch and control an opponent's blade using the quillions, which are those spikes after the ricasso, or even to bash enemies with the opposite end of the blade. ProtoMan uses a one-handed arm blade in the games, but for this medieval rendition, I like the idea of him using a greatsword and executing moves like that. Alright, while I get the rest of my line work out, I'm going to go into a little bit of lore on ProtoMan. ProtoMan is a skilled net navi, which is just short for network navigator, or internet navigator depending on the game. And he is operated by the net battler Eugene Chaud. He is programmed to be completely loyal to his operator and will obey any order given to him. Between that, his considerable skill in combat, and the fact that he wasn't programmed with compassion or kindness, he's quite the intimidating combatant and has earned a reputation for ruthlessness. He and his user train together constantly, up to 10 hours a day, and though ProtoMan initially fought without any input from Chaud, after his loss to MegaMan and Lan, the two change their approach and now make use of each other's strengths in combat. The duo act as both friends and foes to MegaMan throughout the Battle Network games. ProtoMan's main weapon is a sword, and he also has a shield which he can summon at will. And he has access to the ranged buster weapon when he's used as a playable character. For this drawing, I'm just going to stick to the sword as it's his primary weapon. And now that I have all the details done with my line work, I'm going to go through and close up all my shapes so I can move on to the color step. This is probably the most tedious part of the process because I always miss one small gap here or there. But now that I have that done, I put in a light gray for my base color. And I'm going to start with the gold on his emblem, and then I'll move into his skin color, the white for his hair, and then into the red and purple for his armor. And because this color is almost certainly painted on, and he's a duelist, I'm going to go through and add in some weathering after I get the color all blocked in. I'm not going to add any rust in, because while I doubt he's getting his armor repainted after every fight, he almost definitely takes enough pride in his appearance to not tolerate any rust. And after weathering the paint, I'm going to go through and start adding my shading. I'll do more in-depth shading and lighting later, but for now I'm just going through and blocking out my darkest parts. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know that once I'm done blocking it out, I'm going to drop the opacity down, so instead of a harsh black, it's just kind of a light gray. And after I got the shading done, I went back and added a shield to the emblem on his chest. which I think fits the medieval theme, as well as working as a callback to the original Proto-Man, which fought with a shield. And this shield emblem gave me the idea to spice up his armor with some gold trim. So after I finish the shield, I'm going to go in and adjust the line work and then add the gold. I'm glad I went this direction because my line work is a little bit sloppy, and this gave me an excuse to go back through and clean it up. And now I'm also adding a copy of his emblem to the armor on his elbow. I really like the way this is turning out. I think the gold and red look really nice together. And now, just to add some extra flair, I'm going to make his sword glow. I know that kind of pulls it into fantasy rather than strictly medieval, but I think it looks cool. And now I'm going to start in on my lighting. So I've got red light coming from below, and then more of a white light coming from the upper right. And once I got him finished, I realized that I hadn't planned anything for a background, and I didn't want to just leave him floating in a void. So I thought it'd be cool to have him standing in a dueling ground with Chod. Now that I have my sketch done, I'm going to go in and ink these stands first, which I was going to fill with people, but then I decided to have them empty, since like I said earlier, the two of them spend 10 hours a day training to keep their skills sharp. I like the idea of them showing up at the crack of dawn to train at the empty dueling ring before anyone shows up. And now that I have my line work on the stands done, I'm going to go in and use an orange to block out my color area, and then switch that over to a gray and start dropping in my actual color. I'm keeping the colors muted, partially to keep the focus on Proto-Man, but also because I feel like it fits the mood of an empty dueling ground. After I get these flags colored in, I'm going to throw a checker pattern on the stands and then move on to the fence between Proto-Man and Chod. I'm making the fence look rough and old, like it was either already there for a while or was tossed together with old wood. Again, I just think it fits the mood. Like this dueling ground has been here for a while, and they come here to train every day. And now I'm adding in some grass, continuing it into the background with some trees and eventually some mountains in the distance. And now I'm moving back into the foreground to add Chod, and I'm going to have him leaning on the fence watching Proto-Man. I'm not going to change his appearance too much other than to turn his shirt into a tunic and remove the camo pattern from his pants, which I doubt was around during the Dark Ages. And after I add in the color, I'm going to go in and add some shading to Chod and then the surrounding area. And after that, I'm going to go in and add the sky, some clouds, maybe a few extra trees in the background, before coming back in and throwing in some light effects from the glowing blade using an airbrush, erasing out the shadows and dropping the opacity down. And there we have it, Medieval Proto-Man and Chod. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you left a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. As always, feel free to drop by the comment section if you have a suggestion for a future video or even just to say hi. Thanks again. Have a good one.
Jesus wept.